Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. We want to welcome our friends in South Africa, the United States, and around the world to this week's edition of A Conversation with El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan. I'm pleased to be your host, coming to you once again through the Salam Media platform out of Johannesburg, South Africa. Salam Media is an online portal for humanitarian journalism. We don't just report the news, we advise you on what you can do about it. Today's broadcast is a very special one. This will be our final live program for Women's History Month, and I could not have chosen a better subject for our focus for this afternoon in the United States and this evening in South Africa, in Johannesburg, than that of a dear friend who was recently called back to her Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sister Zarinah Shakir, may Allah be pleased with her. For those who didn't have the pleasure of knowing this special lady, let's introduce her to you through a little piece of video. Brother Sadiq, let us roll the video.
I must have a passion for doing what I do because I don't get paid monetarily for it. And I would do it anyway, and I am doing it. And I love doing what I do. Now, I would like to begin to connect the dots with some dollar signs eventually, but I would still do what I'm doing because I feel that it's important for people, again, to know who I am, who we are, and how we can all, as Rodney King said, just get along. We don't have enough, I would say, communicators. We don't have enough people, male or female, or whatever their ethnicity may be, that are Muslim to cover our stories. And the unfortunate thing is some people are telling our stories incorrectly. They're misrepresenting, they're misinforming, they are saying things that are totally not true. And so for people, and they don't have to all be young, I mean, they could be retired. And I'm always looking for people who may even have had another career that may be interested in getting involved in the media to work with us as volunteers to start doing the research and looking at who you are, where you fit in, what your life is about. Let me just give you this one anecdotal story about me. I was in Egypt a few years ago, and I was required, along with the other people that were in our interfaith group, to introduce ourselves. And I said my name was Zarinah Shakir, and I'm an African-American Muslim woman. Well, one of the leaders of our group, who was taking us on the tours and to various meetings, she interrupted me by saying, "Oh, you have 3 strikes against you." And I said, "What?" And I started looking around at everybody else and I said, "What did you say?" And she said, "You have 3 strikes against you. You're an African-American Muslim woman." And I said, "Well, wait a minute. It really depends on what game you're playing." I said, "If you're playing baseball, you would be," I said, 3 strikes against you would take you out of the game. Yes. I said, "But if you're bowling, strikes are in your favor." And I said to everyone in the room, I said, "So folks, let's bowl."
Let's bowl. That is vintage. Our sister Zarinah Shakir. Without any further ado, let's welcome those who are present with us right now to the platform. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone.
Alaikum salam.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Walaikum
Okay,
salam.
okay. Um, let's begin with you, Brother Ali. You are the only male in this in today's conversation, besides myself, the host. Let's begin with you. We've asked. We've invited a number of Zarina's friends, confidants to come on to the platform today and to take about 3 or 4 minutes to say something about yourselves and then to just share what you would share about our sister Zarinah Shakir.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Brother Mauri, for putting this on. For this memory and tribute to Sister Zarina. I just wanted to start. I'll start. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was really good piece of footage that you used for Sister Zarina, and beyond like what I could talk about, which is a lot, from the time that we met in Washington D.C. Up through our last personal engagement in December of 2022 in Washington or Arlington. That clip though does a lot to bring back memories in terms of how feisty Sister Zarina could really be. She was really always ready and prescient and present enough to listen to what was being said and to really challenge things that she didn't jive with, or that she didn't believe, and didn't have a fear about doing that with just about anybody. Quite honestly, as she said, she was overseas, and that basically came up, and she did that. She went at that person, and created sort of a jovial moment for everyone to think about. But that was something that she was really good at, being provocative in a way, but still not disempowering the people that she was actually trying to teach a lesson with. And that's definitely a skill, and you've got to care about people such that you don't just cut people down because you don't necessarily agree with their perspective. I wanted to just read a little bit. I wrote something that I actually published, and I just think it really just captures, more so succinctly our relationship and our experiences. And so it was in the winter of 2005 that I was first introduced to Sister Zarina at Masjid Muhammad, Washington, D.C. And at the time, she had embarked on this arduous task of producing Islamic Perspectives, a television program, which was at that time the longest running program about Islam and Muslims in Washington, D.C. So her team later went on to create and produce Perspectives of Interfaith. And it was at the time that Sister Zarina had asked me in 2005 if I actually wanted to, or if I had any interest in media. And I hadn't done any media, photography, or anything since I was a kid. And so I was really intrigued with that notion. And it was from that first meeting with her at the masjid into the studio that really I embarked on a career as an actual media journalist. And later going on to get a master's in independent media certification through AIM, Arlington Independent Media. And from there, she and I having produced I'd say over 300 hours of programming to include television, radio, and virtual engagements. And so we actually really did a lot together. And most notably, because we had stopped working together for quite some time, we had both grown into different directions on our work. regionally where we live. But Allah brought us back together in December of last year for a time to be grateful, which is a yearly effort that's hosted by the Muslim Journal in Arlington. And she asked me to actually be on a panel discussion with other journalists to really talk about our path, to journalism and what we need to do going forward. And so that was something always that she was really had in the forefront. How do we move the Islamic Muslim agenda forward inside of the space of journalism? How do we get young people involved? And how do we get the African American community, on point in these various ways? I could say a lot more, but I'll stop here, Mauri.
Okay, thank you for that, my brother. Sister Nadirah Rasheed, what are your thoughts? What are your memories of our sister Zarinah Shakir? And please begin by sharing a little bit about yourself.
From the Washington, D.C. area, and I currently live in Maryland. And I've been involved with social services work for quite a number of years. And actually, I met Zarina, I don't remember which year it was, but I met Zarina through my sister-in-law, who was very good friends with her. May Allah have mercy on her. So my sister-in-law passed away herself last year, almost a year to the date of Zarina's death. May Allah be pleased with both of them and grant them paradise, inshallah. So I met Zarina through my sister-in-law, Tasneem. And Zarina reminded me so much of another friend who has also passed on, Sister Mariam Funches. Zarina was a sister like Mariam. They both were very much involved in the community, establishing programs, and always trying to get people involved in doing the work. That was Zarina, and that was Mariam. They both had those qualities about them. And Zarina just would try to encourage all of us to get involved in doing activities and programming. And I did participate in a couple of programs with her over the years, but at this point I can't remember the exact ones. But the most recent interaction I've had with her, which really was just months, not even a month, I would say maybe a month before Laura called her back. I'm involved with a group called Kibla Circle, and we do online programming ourselves. And we were embarking on a project that we hope that will come to fruition, maybe possibly in May. And we had invited Zarina to participate with us, a part of our planning team. And of course, she graciously accepted. And it was during this last month, during after second or third meeting that we had, when she had gotten ill, and I reached out to her and about something in reference to the planning team. And this one, she told me that she was sick. And she didn't know she was sick. She had, gone to the hospital and found out that she was having some health issues. And the day before she passed away, I talked to her that evening. As a matter of fact, she was going in for surgery. And of course, we're making dua and, asking Allah to grant her shifa and recovery. And I was just so shocked when I found out that next day that she had passed on. As a matter of fact, the day that I found out about her passing was the day of our planning meeting, which of course she could not attend. But she she was just like Brother Kareem said, she was a feisty individual. She was a fighter. I mean, I admired her because she was all about the work, all about the work. In any way that she could initiate that, that's what she did. And those are some of my memories of Zarina. And I appreciate that Allah allowed me to know her. So, and alhamdulillah, may Allah, forgive her, have mercy on her souls, and grant her paradise, the highest level of paradise, inshallah.
Ameen, ameen. What say you, Sister Khalilah Sabree?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Sister Zarina, she was my sister friend. We met at Masjid Taqwa here in Trenton, New Jersey, maybe around 2008. she had decided that she wanted to come back home and relocate here in Trenton to be close to family, um, and her grandson, of course. So we kind of struck a good friendship, right off, because Zarina and I had many very similar interests. I'm an artist and a retired art teacher, and she loved music, art, theater. She loved her community, and she loved to participate in that community, as did I. So she relocated here in Lawrence Township, and immediately she became very involved with the senior center there, the Lawrence Library, of which for many years she has put on Kwanzaa programs, Black History programs, and of course she always showed her movies. She also got very involved with the Princeton University Muslim Life Program with Imam Sohaib Sultan. In fact, she moderated the 2008 Legacy of Imam W.D. Muhammad, which was fabulous, of course. She also joined the Toastmasters group here, where she met a plethora of people who had similar interests in public speaking. She loved doing that. She also, in 2021, she participated in the Miss New Jersey Senior Pageant, and she took second place in that. She was also one of our founding members of the New Jersey Pearls of Islam. In fact, we met only 2 weeks prior to her passing, and we had a wonderful time together, enjoying each other's company. She also, Zarina had a way of pushing you forward. She would not allow you to just sit stagnant and not participate. So she encouraged me to do an interview. She interviewed me as a professional artist, and that was wonderful. That's when we really, really began to bond more closely. We saw that we had so many common interests, but her most passionate thing that Zarina cared most passionately about was her son Talabdeen and her grandson Justin. She was always concerned about what's going on in the United States, in particular, in reference to the African American male and the many injustices that are taking place in our country. So she was a outfront advocate of that. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we were also part of the Sisters of Salam Shalom, an international Muslim and Jewish group who get together and we find our common goals. And Zarina loved being a part of that group. But she would always address the elephant in the room, as my brother said earlier. She had no hesitation or reservation about doing that. In her last days, we spent a lot of time together, and she would speak with the doctors, and they would do their spiel, of course. But Zarina had no problem saying to them, Allah has set my expiration date. You can do what you do, and I appreciate that, and we will explore the options. However, I believe in the qadr of Allah, and that Allah has decided when I will leave here. And it was my honor to be with her on her last day and to pray with her. And I thank Allah much for us being friends and that we met in this journey in life. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, I am so happy to hear that someone so close and appreciative of our sister was able to be present with her in those final days and hours. Alhamdulillah. May Allah Ta'ala bless you for being present. and for representing those of us who could not be. Last but certainly not least, for those who are with us right now, is our sister Fonda. And I see we have been joined by Lucy. But let's go with Fonda first.
Yeah.
Fonda Willis, share your
Oh my
thoughts.
goodness, I am here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear
I
you very well.
for the issue I'm having with my camera. I am so, first of all, thank you so much, Mauri, for this opportunity. And I am so delighted to see all of you, especially Karim and Lucy. I haven't seen you all in about 10 years. So it is just such a delight. And I am just honored for the opportunity to pay tribute to Zarinah Shakir. She was such a light in this world. She was one of the first caring, compassionate, loving women that I met when I transitioned to the District of Columbia in 2011. And when I started initially transitioned to the district, like I said, in 2011, and was volunteering with a congressman on Capitol Hill, and ended up meeting Zarina. And she, like I said, was just a light. And that video that you played so captured her essence and perspective on life, which I would really describe as calm and positive, uplifting, courageous, and enlightened. I'm just so blessed to have met her, and she was an inspiration to so many. At that particular time when I came to the district all those years ago, my goal was to go to law school. And I know she would be very proud to know that I graduated a few years ago and just recently completed 2 federal clerkships, and am now back in the District of Columbia. And I'm so thankful for elders and women like her who were so uplifting and just very powerful communicators and reminders of our need to be a collective. I'm also very thankful for the shared passion Zarina and I had for justice and fairness, and you can just see that shining through in that video. Mm-hmm. And without taking up too much more time, I just am just so honored to be a part of this broadcast to pay tribute to our great and dear sister, and she will be thoroughly and sincerely missed. And I am so sorry I won't get to continue to speak with her in the physical, but I know that she is now one of my ancestors, and I am very, very proud of that. And thank you again for this opportunity.
My pleasure. Okay, Lucy, it's on you. Share your thoughts about the lady you knew.
Yes, sisters Zarina and I worked together along with Karim Ali at radio station WPFW. And because of the public affairs program that she hosted, people all over the area got to hear her and appreciate her. And one of them is the brother who holds down the peace vigil across from the White House. Filipos wanted to share his condolences to friends and family because he remembered her fondly. And also someone else who can't be with us because he's teaching young people how to do acupuncture for addicts and alcoholics who are recovering from addiction. And that's Kokai Patterson. And because I worked with her some years ago, I think it was like 2011, maybe 2012, 13, 14. I'm going to have to defer to Brother Karim for clearer memories about the programs that we hosted. But I thank you for including me in this remembrance of a really wonderful sister.
Indeed. And again, it's my pleasure to have you all on board. And there were a few others that wanted to be a part of the broadcast. If they join us before it ends, we'll hear from them. If not, then we will continue the conversation ourselves. Brother Karim Ali, has anything that was said by Luci or Fonda or anyone else jarred any additional memories for you?
Yeah, I was hopeful that I at least have another minute or so to speak. To really get into some of the memories, if we could just talk about specific memories maybe we had of her, because it just opens up even more. Sister Zarina actually was not just a single individual in a sense. She wasn't individualistic in that way. As you know, Sister Zarina, you think about the relationship that she had with other people. Because as I sit here and think about her, I think about tons of people that she touched. I'm just sitting here, and I got to mention them because they're not here, but there's tons. In fact, I'm not the person in terms of my professional being in this this craft of media expression, journalism without Sister Zarina. I'm not. She introduced me, but not only that, she was a mentor for many years, and she had the style of teaching without saying that that's what she was really doing, was really teaching me. But beyond that, and even more important, she opened me up to her network of relationships and people.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize what she was doing at that time. I didn't, for whatever reason, I didn't see it as that. I think young people don't really have the same idea around the importance of relationships, long-standing relationships, and and how to treasure those and build upon them and expand them. And I sort of have gotten to that place where I do. But it was through Sister Zarina that I met a dear friend of hers, Karim Abdullah, and inshallah she's watching this. I definitely wanted to mention one of her dearest friends, in fact, she was at her janaza, but that's where I met Sister Karima, and we have a great friendship and relationship. Ahmed Raouf, Brother Samuel Sharif, who was the principal at Clara Muhammad School, where she taught, in fact. And she worked with my aunt, Hasiba Ali, at the Clara Muhammad School in Washington, D.C. And so she had many, many years in the Masjid Muhammad, Washington, D.C. Community, many, many years, and even lived on that same block for many years. I wanted to also echo what the sister said about her love and commitment to her son and her grandson. There was almost never a time that I would be with Sister Zarina, talk with her, that she didn't mention Talib Dean. Almost never. And Justin. They were really her life. Even as she, got older and became, a little, under the weather or not feeling well, her health challenges, they were still really paramount in her concerns, all the way until I even saw her in December. She had Talib Dean on the phone, and she was talking about Justin. And the name of the program, and this is very important as well, and I'll stop. She took over the programming of Brother Hodari Abdul Ali, who many people on this program, listen to this program, knows Brother Hodari for his work and owning the bookstores of Pyramid Books and all that work around publishing and things. And he had that program, The Struggle Continues. So Luci and LaFonda, myself, and others at the station actually were doing great work with that program that she took over from Brother Hodari Ali to keep that tradition going. That was a great program when Hodari was doing it. And and then she took it and she raised it. The last thing I want to talk about, a few of the programs that she was able to produce on The Struggle Continues. So we interviewed Gregory Porter, the Grammy Award-winning Gregory Porter, "Sweet Honey in the Rock." She actually, and I was blown away when she got Gene Carn on the air, and she interviewed Gene Carn, saxophonist Paul Carr, of course Nasser Abade, and then we actually did work in the field where we actually went out to different events, and because of her relationships, we were able to meet Taraji P. Henson before she really became really big. But we actually met her and talked with her. We did an interview with Bill Duke, which I do have. I would like to share that. Susan Taylor, so many people. Gene Upshaw, the Governor Martin O'Malley. So many people, and that's not even it. There's so many. If I just really rack my brain, I could probably think of more people that I was really astounded by the fact that she knew them and was never really bowled over by their celebrity, but was really good in conducting an interview where she made them feel very comfortable, very at ease. And got the information that was so needed for her audience. And so I just wanted to share that. Hopefully that did help us remember some of the things that we did together with Sister Zarina.
Indeed. What I'd like for us to do at this point for the remainder of the program is just have some free-flowing conversation about her. Just jump in with whatever thoughts you have that you want to that you'd like to share with the audience. Now, keep in mind that there are going to be a whole lot of folk, especially from California, from New Jersey, and from the DMV, from the Washington, D.C. area, that are going to see this remembrance of our sister. And so, speak to them as you speak to this live audience.
Well, I would like to add to some of what the brother just said. I did not realize the breadth of Zarina's experience as a professional. She, as I said, we were just friends, just sisters. But as we went through settling up her affairs and going through some of her belongings, her sister and I were amazed at how many people she knew and all the things that she had done. Zarina left Trenton when she was in around 20, and she traveled the world and she did Zarina. But to go through her books, her videos, her badges from events that she spoke at, it was absolutely amazing. And when you find pictures of Zarina with Oprah, Ava DuVernay, we were dumbfounded as to who this person was that we just knew as Sister Zarina, or as my sister, my grandmother. And I'm overwhelmed at the people who called and showed their love for her. So many people. And I pray that Allah will reward her for all the good that she has done, and that her work continues, and that inshallah someday it will be archived. Much of what she has done is in video and audio out there, but inshallah,
Right.
we will work hard to try and make sure that her legacy is preserved.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Khalilah. I just want to thank you because the day before she passed, I talked to you over the phone, and I mentioned to you that I had spoken to her that evening, and that's why. And I knew she had the surgery, but of course I wasn't expecting her to return to Allah so quickly. and you reached out to me because you know that I had called and left her a message, and I just want to thank you for reaching out to me. And we both were trying to decide, how can we find all the work that she did, because even though I had known Zarina for years, and we interacted more off and on when she was living in Washington, D.C., but I haven't had any real contact with her much um, since she had moved back to New Jersey. But as I mentioned before, she and my sister in law were very close. And when I think of my sister-in-law, I think of Zarina. When I think of Zarina, I think of my sister-in-law. But my sister-in-law was much more laid back. She wasn't as outgoing as Zarina was, but Zarina would definitely try to pull us in. And interestingly enough, I had more conversation with her, I will say, the weeks before her passing than I had in quite a while, because we had, invited her to participate with the Kibla Circle, with the program we're trying to initiate, in May with Brother Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. So that's something that we're working on, and she was all in. And I remember we all divided into committees, and Zarina, of course, was going to be on our media committee. And I was telling her, I said, "Look, Zarina, I'm following your leads. I don't know anything about this." She said, "Oh, no, no, no." She said, "I know I'm not the lead." I said, "Well, I can't do it," but she
Okay.
she was all in, and that's just that's who she was. When that video, Brother Mar, that you showed at the end when she talked about both, I said, "Oh my God, that is Zarina. That is Zarina."
Right, right, right,
Yeah.
She did not bite her tongue. She
right.
spoke her
No,
mind,
Yes.
but she was honest to a fault. She was
right.
totally devoted to the deen of Islam and to her Lord. And may Allah just have mercy on her. Thank you, Maura, for putting this together and giving us the opportunity to speak about her. But
Amen.
like I said, like there's another sister who also was a friend of Zarina's, who before she passed away, Sister Marion Funches. The two of them was just so much alike to me in terms of the work that they did in the community. They were just so much alike. They definitely pulled people in and made them work. They both of them really did that. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Yes. I see that our sister Hasiba Ali has just joined us. Let's hear from you, sister. What is your memory of our sister Zarinah Shakir?
First, assalamu alaikum to everyone.
Salam.
Alaikum salam.
My memories of Zarina Shakir are fond, funny, loving, and kind. Um, I was blessed to be able to hire her to teach at the Claire Muhammad School in Washington, D.C. And when she was added to the faculty, she came with many, many hats. And she also had a name. My husband, Dr. Majid Ali, gave her. We called her the Catwoman because she had 9 lives. Zarina came to the school, and when the students first met her, they thought that she was kind of demanding, and she would give assignments, and she would tell the students, now, these assignments, when I say that they're due at 8:30 a.m. in the morning, please do not turn your assignments in at 8:40 because they're late, and I just might not accept them. So the kinds of things that she had done for the students in terms of broadening their perspectives of the world, I will address that first. She gave students, those students, I can remember specifically, particularly about um, the Abdul Maliks, Jamila, Jamal, and Sharif, Najee. I mean, she told them, we're going to pick a country, and when you pick that country, I want you to show up 2 weeks from today, and I want you to be dressed in the attire of that country. I want you to know the economic system, and I want you to do a presentation, and that presentation will be at least 12 minutes, and you will have footnotes and this and that. The students were all like, what? So she had a banquet. Those students showed up. They were all dressed from various countries, from Africa to Africa. I mean, they had Egypt and you name it, Medina, so forth. I was speaking with 2 of her students last year, and they brought her up, and they said, I remember Sister Zarina told us about in becoming more engaging and think about the world and think outside of the box. I'm sure that's been said a lot. And one of them was Sharif Abdul Malik, and he said, and also his brother Muhammad, we call them the two of them. He said that Sister Zarina really opened my eyes and the eyes of many of us to think outside of the box. That student was on Essence as the entrepreneur of the year like 3 or 4 years ago, and Sister Zarina was a part of that. The other things I want to say is that she took students to embassies to broaden their knowledge. And those are the things from the Khair Muhammad School. Personally speaking, she also did the interfaith and perspectives of Islam, perspectives of interfaith. She invited guests from every community. And she invited the Khair Muhammad School. We had an ensemble, of course, of students. And they sang at the national, they sang for the Martin Luther King Jr. programs and various programs for the Kiara Lubeck. And they asked, where did this group come from? They did it a cappella, and they did have drums. I mean, Najjar played the drums. Nasheed Muhammad, he could play, but all of them enjoyed it. And Zarina brought out the best. She played piano. I don't know how many of you know that. She played piano and accompanied us at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. And so I don't know, a lot of people may have known that. And she was quite a Nina Simone fan. Pardon?
To the bank.
Oh, but anyway, I'm just saying that those are some of the things that she did to increase the knowledge and broaden the perspectives of the youth. And the interfaith perspectives, every time that they were there, we did programs, they would call Khair Muhammad School, of course, and they would call Sister Zarina for the interfaith programs, along with Sister Bahija, who started that. They were very close. My personal joy was that every time Zarina presented a program, she would call my daughters and Kareem, my nephew, his daughters. They also participated in many of the programs. She fed the poor, and every time during Ramadan, Zarinah Shakir, she invited the Jewish community, the Jain. Yes. She invited the Catholic community. She invited, quote, what called the nation, everybody, anybody. And when she did that, and she told them, she said, everything is fi sabi Allah. And remember, she said, your best cover is the cover of righteousness. That's from the Quran. How do you have a better cover? So that was Zarinah Shakir with me. I think that's probably my time limit, but just know that she was a blessing. May Allah forever, ever forgive her and accept her into paradise, because she was a sincere soul.
But if I could share, to pull on a thread that my Hasiba just shared, just in terms of her multicultural competence and inclusiveness, and her programming perspectives of interfaith actually was written and produced with the intent to debunk the myths of other faith traditions, in a sense. And so it wasn't just about putting al-Islam and Muslims front and center and talking about our issues and challenges. Primarily, it was really rich in as much as you learned about so many other faith traditions that perhaps you would have never known about or never really had a deep understanding about, because she would actually bring people forward from those traditions to actually talk about their life and their involvement in their faith. So that was really important. And even with Islamic perspectives, it was when she took it over, it had already a pretty long-standing reputation, and the goal was to really treat that opportunity with as much vigor and care, as possible to really get the proper understanding of Islam and Muslims, in the West out, to the general public. And so she really did a lot and was really well versed in this area, of media and writing and producing. A very well read individual. And also at the same time, unassuming in a sense, because she really never carried it like she was at the level that she really was. When you think back on what it is that she accomplished, and it would come out in her commentary, and especially if somebody says something that she didn't agree with, that's when it would come out as well. That's what.
But what I admired most about her delivery is that it was calm and that it was always positive. It was, she didn't respond to things. I was never in her presence or even heard her on the radio respond to anything that she disagreed with any kind of hostility or anger. She just didn't have that kind of spirit. And I think that's what was, part of her secret formula for extracting information from people and being able to bring so many people together. Not only was she calm, I'm of the Christian faith, even though I have some deep respect for the Muslim faith and agree with a lot of the principles. She never tried to, push me into becoming a Muslim or try to convert me. That wasn't her platform. She just enjoyed and was passionate about sharing truth and being about justice. And like I said earlier, being about, the collective. And that's, what I admired most about her and what I think resonates so deeply with so many people because, she was just a light, truly a light.
I tell you one thing for sure. She did have a bit of a temper. You just had to, I'm glad she didn't let you see it because I can tell you on several occasions when I accompanied her and she was interviewed on CNN or CBS and they said, well, you said that the Muslim community did such and such. And she says, excuse me. She says, no, you said that. What I said was, and she would correct them very abruptly and very quickly and very clearly. But as you said, in a polite way, but the anger, you can see it. And she would make this one face, which I am very aware. And when her eyebrows go up like this, look out. Zarina was coming for you. And when they would finish, they would end up saying, well, I meant to say that. She says, well, I'm sorry. I just like it. If you want to say and repeat me, please quote me correctly or say, I understood you to have said, and then I can accept the statement because that was your understanding, but it was not my statement. And she was terse on that. The other thing about the prayer, I do want to mention this. She told everybody when they were going to say the prayer, she says, of course, you can all say your own prayers because that's very important. But remember, they all go to one la ilaha illallah, one God. And she was very constant on that, very fair. And I do appreciate that because we as Muslims are in a very diverse world at this time. And the Zarinas of the world are far and few. I gave a quiz after her passing, and I said, name a journalist, a Muslim woman who had a TV show, who had a TV show, who was a reporter, who's a journalist who's gone to Dubai and Egypt and all the other major countries, and was also a pianist, but most of all, a sincere Muslim woman journalist and educator. Do you know that everybody said the same name, Zarinah Shakir? Because you can name others who have been over newspapers and have done this and that, but Zarina was the only one. Mauri Saalakhan, for example, I gave another quiz. He doesn't know about this. And his name come up as the only one, as a Muslim who has been the same. So I consider Zarina and Mauri champions. for all people, all humanity. And she used to say, like she would always say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah. Remember, we are all one. No matter what your faith is, you're all one, and that you're a believer. And that's Zarina's message. May Allah accept her into paradise. And I visited her several times, and she came and lived with me when she would stay here with Taliba Hassan out in Woodbridge. She would stay at the house, and she considered I'm so honored. She considered my grandchildren, her grandchildren, my nieces, her nieces, as she did Kareem's. But that's Zarina. What a woman. What a Muslim.
You know something? I've known Zarina for at least 30 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 40. I don't know when she came. I came to the Washington D.C. area in 75. I don't know if she was here then.
1987.
She came in 87. Okay, so I've known her since the late 80s, early 90s, and I thought I knew her well, but I've learned in this conversation that we've had thus far, I've learned a lot more about Zarina than I could have known. And
Alhamdulillah.
One of the things that when I think of Zarina, I think of that term, that label, quiet storm. That's what she was for me. I mean, she was a very soft-spoken person with a very resolute and determined personality, no nonsense.
Agreed. I totally agree with that.
And she was a quiet storm, and a beautiful one at that. One of the things that I appreciated about her is that when your brother Saalakhan began to really go deep into my human rights work, there were a lot of brothers and sisters who had known me for years, had known me a lot longer than Zarina has known me, who kind of distanced themselves because Brother Saalakhan was engaging in too much criticism of the government and government practices that needed to be criticized, and addressing political issues that needed to be addressed but made folks uncomfortable. She wasn't one of those who kept me at a distance. In fact, she embraced me, and she invited me to her platform when she was when she had the program at that cable television network in Virginia. She invited me on a pretty regular basis to come and to share my thoughts and to share my work, and I really appreciated that about her.
That was Arlington. That was the Arlington cable network, and I saw you many times on there. And she would always call, and she would say to me, she said, "Did you really get all of that?" I said, everything he had to say, we got it. And then she would always Kareem could say, she would always kind of at the end tie things together. We didn't need much tied together when you did speak, and she was so proud of that. So alhamdulillah for that.
I was going to say that same thing, that she wasn't really afraid to tackle tough topics and controversial people. So you're right, Mauri. There at those times there were a lot of folks that were a little, afraid to touch content, honestly. And I'd see Mauri coming into the studio. She had another program set up for you. You're absolutely right. She was a big champion. One of the things I definitely want to not leave without mention, and it's hard to say, well, what was the highlight of her career? It's hard to say that because she never stopped working. I mean, she was working up until the last time I saw her, which was in December, right? But one of the things I think she was really proud of is when, and Brother Lyndon Bilal texted me and reminded me of this, is that we were part of a team that put together and facilitated an event for Imam Wifti Muhammad in Virginia, and I think it was in Arlington. I think it was in Arlington, where he met with Jay Warner Nightwolf of WPFW, and they actually were on the dais together, and they had like sort of a panel conversation, and that was a really big event. That sort of event was I think ahead of its time in terms of how that came together. And I was really a newbie back then, but I worked with her, and as did a number of people in our community to help pull that off. And there was just so many other interviews, and and she was always down to work. And if there was an event, Kareem, are you going to bring a camera? That was her favorite question.
Oh, that reminds me, we're putting together a montage of her work, Brother Ahmed and Kareem, and we're hopefully. I spoke with we've also got Farah Shakur and Rafia Jones, and we're thinking about bus boys and poets, so that people can actually be there and share their memories, and we can also see the collection that has been put together by Brother Ahmed and Kareem. And we're looking at April after Ramadan, or the first or second week of May. So we're just going to like kind of throw that out there, and then as we get more information, then we will share it with all of you, because we really do want the people to know that this champion is still with us, and her work, it won't be forgotten. And all those pioneers that she interviewed who are no longer with us, they're with us because of her interviews. And for those who don't know that, she had interviewed, and some of them are still with us fighting, and that's like Sister Labiba and Brother Jesse Shakria. These are people, natives of Washington, D.C. She interviewed these people, Sister Basima. They used to cook the old-fashioned recipes. So know that they're with us because she made history and left it for the rest of us to enjoy and see. That's Zarinah Shakir and her impact.
Indeed. And we have a sister with us. For those of you who don't know her, she's been very quiet, but Luci Murphy is one of our cultural icons in the Washington, D.C. area. She is a cultural icon, and she's my go-to person when we're having a protest rally and we want to inject some consciousness raising, cultural expression in it. Luci, you've known the sister for a number of years. You worked along with Brother Kareem at WPFW. This is one of the flagship stations of the Pacifica Radio Network in Washington, D.C. From what you've heard shared.
Yeah, well, I would just like to say that yesterday we were protesting NATO, the way the United States is pushing all this money into NATO when we need money for healthcare, money for education, money to relieve student loans, money for housing.
Yes.
This is such a rich country, and we have all these homeless people. It doesn't make any sense. And Sister Zarina, excuse me, Sister Zarina was early in warning us about NATO. She had programs about, NATO attacking Syria and interfering in Egypt. She had that global view, just like the sisters have said. So I felt like her spirit was with us yesterday, and of course they got me to get the crowd going on a song. We sang "Peace and Freedom" in Spanish, "Paz y Libertad," and yeah.
One of our treasures, mashallah. Okay.
Anyway, Sister Luci, I think I've seen you before. Now, I mean, I'm listening to you, I'm looking at you, and I think I've had participated in some protests before in Washington D.C. where you led songs. I remember that.
Yes.
and you protested along with the Muslims on several occasions. So I remember you now.
If you have been in Washington for 10 years, you have seen me.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she's a folk singer in the mode of folk
Yeah, I
roasting.
remember that.
Yeah.
And also I work on Palestine issues.
Yes, indeed.
And we have the Palestinian Youth Movement, Anak Bayan, as well as Pan-African Community Action in the DC Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. You know, we need community control of police, and we need to bring peace at home as well as peace abroad, because this country is fomenting violence everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, the peace that Zarina is enjoying right now is a peace that all of us know one day we will share. And we will all sit as we are doing now and hopefully say wonderful things that we have been able to do or contribute, things that we can contribute to society. And and Lucy, I also saw you. We were at the Ark. Um, I forgot where there was a new something that was coming out, and I said, "Guys, that's Lucy. I do know her." So kudos for your efforts, also, and you're a good supporter, Mauri. I understand why you have this particular group. And I feel so honored to just be amongst you. And Sister Nadirah, I'm just amazingly, just thrilled. I'll just say that. I'm only sorry that we didn't have someone from the Focolari here, because Zarina was like one of the right arms. When Yusef Salim first started working with us, and we met the Focolari and Chiara Lubick. I don't know if you all knew her, but I'm sure you did. And if you didn't, she was kind of like a sister. Um, she was, let's put it like this. She embraced Muslims as human beings, not just Muslims, human beings. And every program that she had, she said Imam Wardi Muhammad was in her heart. And she said the things that he's trying to achieve universally, they are things that need to be done. Zarinah Shakir picked up that banner and she ran with it. Kareem can remember how she would videotape the things that they would do. And they would bring their songs and we would learn their songs. And Zarina said, this is the only way that we're going to make the world better, is by communicating with each other, learning each other's cultures, embracing them, and remembering that one thing again, that we all have that one link that ties us together. That was Zarinah Shakir saying, La ilaha illallah, there's only one God. And so when I look at Lucy and she's out there fighting that struggle too, those are the kind of struggles that Zarinah Shakir was not afraid to not only embrace, but to publicize. I remember when we had, he used to always sing Harry Belafonte, and they came to WPFW. Zarina, she went over when he was there at the same time Dick Gravy was there. Mm-hmm. And Zarina went over to them both, and she said, and everybody would say, "Oh, I want a picture with this one. I want a picture with that one. I want." Zarinah Shakir said, "All of you are important. We can all get a group picture." And that was the beautiful part of Zarina. It wasn't all about her. And so she was saying, "No, let's all get this together." All right. Last thing, I want to make one correction. She was here earlier in '86, but she also taught at the W.M. Muhammad High School in Atlanta, Georgia. And she was from California. So I always asked, how did that happen? And she said, Allah's will. So now we know she was also prominent there, and her students in there, they knew the same. It was the same thing. She was tough, but boy, did they learn a lot. Zarinah Shakir, that's Zarina.
Okay, sisters and brother, we're very grateful to Salam Media, based in Johannesburg, South Africa, for allowing us to go beyond the hour that this program normally occupies. It's usually just an hour long. We're able to go just a bit over an hour today. What I'd like to do is conclude the program with each one of you just sharing a final thought, in a minute or two concerning our sister Zarina. Let's start with you, Brother Karim Ali.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so much that could be said. I have to say, as a closer, I think Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, the Creator of heavens and earth, for having myself on this path, journey in life, where I was able to meet Sister Zarina and have the experiences that I had. I don't think that as a professional in media. That I would have, started a media company and gotten the same training. I might have been on another path. But she opened me up to that and taught me what I needed, and then I was able to excel from there. And that my hopes are and wishes that her family are comforted during her time, during this time of her loss. And that, her son and grandson continues to receive the support from the community in her absence, as I'm certain that she would have hoped, for the people that she loved and knew, and that she knew loved her, that they would extend that love to her family in her absence, and hopeful to be able to be that support as her friend who is still here as she moves on. To a greater, whatever happens. I think you all know what I mean by that. So I definitely miss her, and I appreciate this opportunity to be able to say a couple of things on her behalf.
Alhamdulillah. Sister Khalilah, your final thought.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'd just like to say that I'm so honored to have been Zarina's friend and be her sister, and she has opened up a much bigger circle of sisters than I could have ever imagined. And I just pray Allah that in our old age, in our senior years, that we become closer as sisters, and that Allah will put someone near us in our time of need when we can't do the things that we need to do for ourselves, that our sisterhood will gather around us and do what needs to be done. It was my honor to be with her. It was my honor. And I thank Allah much for opening that door for me to know her. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister. Fonda, what say you?
Thank you so much. Again, thank you, Paul, for contacting me. I'm so glad that you've been able to join the broadcast. Mauri, I just want to say once again, thank you so much for this opportunity to pay tribute to the wonderful memory and legacy and life of Zarinah Shakir. Like I said, she was another mother love. I'm so grateful to have encountered her on this journey called life. One of the biggest takeaways from my relationship and encounter with her is to remain calm under all circumstances. I definitely am going to apply that as I continue to move forward in my life. Again, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have met her and all that she poured into the community and her representation of what it meant to be a justice warrior and to stand for the collective. And again, I'm honored to have met her, and thank you again for this wonderful opportunity.
Our pleasure. Nadirah.
I don't have a lot more to say. Only thing I would like to mention, of course, is that I prayed to Allah, that He would grant her paradise, grant her the highest station in paradise, inshallah. Forgive her sins, have mercy on her souls, and may we all meet there, when our time comes, on the day of judgment. Ameen.
Ameen. Luci, what say you?
What's important is to carry on the good practices of our sister. And I hope to you know, put some energy to carry on her energy for peace and freedom and for understanding. Thank you.
Sister Hasiba.
Yes, I see Paul Pumphrey's with us. Paul helped her move from many times, but from Washington, D.C. to New Jersey. And I'm glad to see his face. And I'll give my time to him. I will just say one thing. Zarina wanted more young people on the inner side of that camera, not only out there on the camera. And that was one of her goals. May Allah accept her into paradise. Bless her. May her place be very spacious with those rivers running and the beautiful gardens.
I mean, Brother Paul Pumphrey, man, it has been years, brother. It has been years, brother. It's good to see you, man. And
Yes.
You were able to make it onto the platform before we shut it down.
Well, thank you so very much for this opportunity. Clearly, she has been an important part of not just my life, but my family life, my wife and myself. We've seen her as a sister who's been a part of our struggle for peace, for justice in this world that we live in today. And she has enabled me to meet some of the folks here on this panel over the years. I feel that her life, if we want to testify to it, we should say that we should want to continue many of the activities and many of the themes that she has done in her lifetime, because she has been tireless in the struggle for peace and for justice. And she set some great examples for us to follow. And I hope if for those of us who had the opportunity to have a little piece of her life, that we use that as an inspiration to continue on the ongoing struggle that we all have in front of us today. And so thank you for the opportunity of being able to share some of my thoughts with this broadcast.
Alhamdulillah, we're glad to have you and everyone else. I am so pleased to have been able to moderate this discussion on the life and legacy of our late sister. And I really appreciate those of you who are able to make it onto the platform. We tried, if those, all of us know Brother Ahmed Rauf, and he should have been here. I reached out many times trying to reach this brother, never connected with him, but he should have been a part of this broadcast. You just let him know that, you know, his brother Saalakhan, if you talk to him before I do, didn't forget the fact that he had this very deep personal connection with our sister as well, both in terms of, you know, a personal relationship and a working relationship, as did you, Brother Karim Ali. So again, I thank you all for being here for this broadcast, and I want to close out this part of the broadcast because we have some final business we need to take care of before we end completely. I just want to conclude this part of the broadcast with a poem I wrote years ago entitled Condolence. The death of a loved one, be they family or friend, is accompanied by sadness for how we will miss them. But death is a reality, it will come to us all. The acceptance of this will bring comfort to all. When seen in this light, it may be viewed as a friend, for as life passes by, a new life begins. Our sister has left behind a very rich legacy that will continue to inform generations, inshallah ta'ala, to come. With that said, and I want to conclude today's broadcast first with a piece of video that for me it was beautiful and awakening, and for some, I know it made them who saw it a little uncomfortable. But it's a very powerful piece of video of this young woman this young woman, she's speaking truth to power, which is what we all should do. And unfortunately, we're seeing more women these days, it appears, speaking truth to power in the public square than we are seeing men. Let's show that piece of video, and then I'm going to make some concluding remarks of how this relates to something that is on the horizon that everyone needs to be aware of.
So people who run businesses, who have incomes, who have careers, who have reputation, who have something to lose or something to protect are silent right now. The biggest male voices in Bollywood are conspicuous in their absence and their silence because they have these big projects riding on their very buff arms and shoulders, right? Also, they make so much more money than the women, so they have so much more to lose. Corporate India is so afraid to tick off the government, they're worried their files might not move through North Block, and they will be punished into not making as much money as they're used to, so they're completely silent. So our streets right now are littered with human rights violations, with attempts to change the fabric of this secular country. Our streets right now are full of crime. And the people who have access to education and information and communication and platforms have covered those streets with a blanket of silence. When they came for Kashmir, there was silence. They came for Assam, there was silence. They came for Jamia, there was silence. They came for Uttar Pradesh, there was silence. They came for JNU, there was silence. Too much to protect, right? Too much to lose. Yes, uncle, I understand. That is true. Middle class people, why take panga now? We're middle class. Yes, I understand. That is true. So what about those people who are standing up right now? Kannan Gopinath, Kanhaiya Kumar, Varun Grover, Swara Bhaskar, Zishan Ayub, Deepika Padukone, Farhan Akhtar, Sandhya Mridul, Shah Faisal, who's still in custody, Shaila Rashid. Don't these people have families to protect? Don't they have careers? Don't they have income? Do they have nothing to lose? Lakhs and lakhs of students in universities across the country, what do they have to lose? They have everything to lose. They have our identity to lose. Our identity as a secular democratic republic. Our Mile Sur Mera Tumhara identity, they have that to lose. That's more important than an income, or a career, or a reputation, or safety. I know if you forward something, it becomes permanent. They're reading everything, they're tracking everybody. Government is reading everything, that is true. Is the government reading the Constitution? Are you reading the Constitution, uncle? You know, we don't own this Constitution. We don't own this country. It's not ours to squander. We are custodians of it for the next generation. The same family that you're protecting with your silence will one day ask you what you were doing when their inheritance was being squandered. History will ask for accountability, uncle. History will ask you. History will ask me. When history asks for accountability, this will be the answer. The grown-ups, people with jobs and incomes and reputations and businesses and things to lose, sat down. The young stood up. The young who had nothing to lose and everything to lose at the same time stood to face the oppressor. The young stood guard for the Constitution through that cold winter night. The young kept us safe. The young made sure that we have a country to hand over to the next generation. The young stood and fought. Uncle was with us in spirit. Thank you.
Ah, that's so powerful. Uncle was with us in spirit. You know, brothers and sisters in the, friends in the audience at large, the reason why I wanted to air this piece of video is because we are about to do something. This is not only the 20th anniversary of the dark, evil-laced war in Iraq, a war that was based on lies and deceits. And even those who were the proselytizers for the war, they admit this today. It was based upon something that didn't happen, an untruth, a lie. There has been tremendous devastation throughout the world as a result of this so-called war on terror. There have been countries that have been upended, that have been devastated. God knows how many millions, not just 8 million, but how many millions of people were killed and or affected in very profound ways. I mean, there are well over 1 million dead, no question about it. But, you know, the millions that have been destabilized throughout the globe as a result of this war that is now 2 decades old. As Dr. King correctly noted, you know, this country called America, this country that projects itself as the land of liberty and justice for all, is perhaps the most violent nation on the face of the earth. This is an unfortunate reality, and that nature, that unfortunate nature of the other America. There are 2 Americas. There have always been 2, as the Senator J. William Fulbright, the late Senator J. William Fulbright, for whom the Fulbright Scholarship is named and who chaired the powerful Senate Foreign Relations Committee longer than any other senator in U.S. history, correctly noted. So there are 2 Americas. And unfortunately, the America that we have seen the most of is that other America that is not so beautiful. It's not the America the beautiful. Now, one of the good things about this country, one of the good things about it is that, you know, folks like El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan and so many others are able to speak and have some relative cushion of protection for that speech, able to engage in criticism that needs to be engaged, you know, able to engage in the kind of work that is aimed at trying to force this nation to live up to the better part of itself. We can do this still safely, comparatively safely, more safe than what others are able to do in many other parts of the world. And this is something that I don't take for granted. This is something that I do appreciate. But we have to speak truth to power if we are going to help our nation to live up to the better part of itself. And part of the responsibility that we have, that I wanted to point to with that little piece of video followed by this piece of commentary, is, you know, there are certain cases and issues, I learned this a long time ago, that are so huge in their precedent-setting nature that to resolve these issues will have a ripple effect on many others that otherwise would not see the light of day. One of those issues on an individual level is the case of a young woman, a Muslim woman, that former U.S. Attorney General Ramsey Clark May Allah be pleased with him. Passed away a few years ago. One of the finest attorney generals in U.S. history, the finest in my lifetime. He said of Afia Siddiqui, "It is the worst case of individual injustice I have ever witnessed." I was present with him in Texas when he made that declaration. And that said a lot for a man who was the former U.S. Attorney General of the United States, who, after he left government, became this huge, well-respected international human rights icon, traveling to different parts of the world. He said, "The case of Afia Siddiqui is the worst case of individual injustice I have ever witnessed." This month marks 20 years of Afia Siddiqui being wrongfully imprisoned. This young woman who came to the United States as an 18-year-old in 1990, did her freshman year at the University of Houston, got a scholarship to MIT, went off to MIT, graduated from MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, with honors, went from there to Brandeis University, two of the leading Ivy League universities in the world, graduated from Brandeis with a PhD in cognitive neuroscience, again graduating with honors. A sister who was known not just for her academic prowess, but for her commitment to Islam. A bright shining star, one of the brightest shining stars of the Muslim Students Association of America and Canada. And look at where she is today, this Hafida of Quran, in prison for the past 20 years, based upon lies and deceits, cover up. And we have not done enough to get her free. Not even her own tribe, members of her own tribe, prominent members of her own tribe here in America, where she is imprisoned, have been afraid to speak up for her, or are so mired in their own self-interest that not only will they refuse to speak up for Afia Siddiqui, they will bring criticism and whatever opposition they can against folks like me for speaking up for her. Afia Siddiqui is a litmus test. I believe one of the reasons why Pakistan is going through what it's going through right now, the social and political turmoil that country is going through right now, this country that, like so many others, came to birth in the name of Islam, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. I believe the reason why it is going through changes right now, one of those reasons is Afia Siddiqui. The role that the Musharraf government played in targeting Afia Siddiqui to be one of the many disappeared of Pakistan. Muslim men and boys that wound up at Guantanamo. Afia Siddiqui, the lone woman that was disappeared for 5 years and then reappeared only because 4 Arab Muslim men escaped from Bagram in Afghanistan and told the story of this one Muslim woman that was being held there in captivity. Prisoner 650. And as word began to get out about this mysterious woman and descriptions of who she was, she came from Pakistan. She was kidnapped with her children and disappeared. People in the know began to put 2 and 2 together. SubhanAllah, and as the evidence began to grow and the U.S. authorities could not deny any longer that they were holding a female prisoner at Bagram, they released Afia, reunited her with her son, who she hadn't been seen for 5 years, when all 3 of them were snatched out of that taxi in Karachi, Pakistan, and then set her up to be killed. Afia Siddiqui ended up being shot by an American soldier, but she didn't die. And the Afghans, the soldiers, the police personnel, they insisted that she get emergency treatment. She got the emergency treatment, and then in violation of international law and Afghan sovereignty, she was brought back to the United States. A manufactured case was brought against her to a cover-up story of why she was shot, because one of the American soldiers laid his M4 rifle on the floor in violation of U.S. military protocol, supposedly. And she came rushing through a curtain, picked it up, took off the safety, and tried to shoot her way out of captivity. No one being shot in this crowded room except Afia Siddiqui. Why? Because one of the American soldiers panicked when he saw her. Panicked when he saw her. And just in a reaction, shot her. Not knowing that she was behind the curtain, unshackled. It's been 20 years. This sister of ours is a shell of her former self. Her mother just recently passed away a few months ago, hoping that she would be able to be reunited with her daughter. SubhanAllah. Her father passed away years ago. This sister of ours is a litmus test. And the reason why we wanted you to see that little piece of video is because that is a challenge. It is a challenge especially for the men to stand up and be men. It is a challenge for us all, irrespective of what tribe you happen to come from. If you're a Muslim, first and foremost, this is a challenge to us. But beyond the Muslims, this is a challenge also to the Americans who believe in that ideal, who believe in liberty and justice for all. It's been 20 years. Insha'Allah ta'ala, on the 30th and 31st, we are going to have a protest rally at the Pakistan Embassy in Washington, D.C. This is during the blessed month of Ramadan. An opportunity to greatly increase the barakah in this blessed month. We're going to have a demonstration in front of the Pakistan Embassy at 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 4:30. A 90-minute demonstration on the 30th and 31st, Thursday and Friday. Please join us. Please join us in our call to the Pakistan government through its embassy to do what it is capable of doing in order to get the daughter of the nation back where she belongs. If not now, when? So this is what we wanted to end today's broadcast with. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless and preserve those of us who have the fire of truth and justice burning within us. May Allah ta'ala bless the torch never to go out. And on that note, we're going to close out as we normally do with Al-Asr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi kusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amalu salihati. Wa tawasaw bil haqq. Wa tawasaw bis sabr. Which means, in the translation of the meaning, in the name of Allah, in the name of God Almighty, the Beneficent, the Merciful, by the token of time through the ages, surely humanity is in loss, except those who believe and do good, and exhort one another to truth, and exhort one another to patiently persevere. Brothers and sisters, Hasiba Ali, Brother Karim Ali, Luci Murphy, Nadirah Rasheed, Khalilah Sabree, LaFonda Willis, and Paul Pumphrey. I want to thank you for joining us today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the rest of your day. And may Allah ta'ala bless those of us who have that fire for truth and justice burning within us to do everything in our power to ensure that the flame never goes out. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.